I would call them zingers, like one-liners. You know what I mean by one-liners? I don't mean like these like fancy, flashy statements, but rather very, very powerful and meaningful, impactful statements, but in short, concise format. So because they were used to hearing Chassidus that way in Pedish Chassidus, when the Shvika Rebbe would tell them over Chassidus, he said Chassidus in that style. So by the Haggadah you find in the early years, in the like 41, 42, 43, Tafshin Aleph, Beis, Gimel, Daled, those years, Shvika Rebbe says the Vertach on the Haggadah in that kind of style. So I'll share with you some of these Vertach. I think this Vert is from the Rebbe. It says, Seyu Lamad Mabikesh Lavan Harami Lasis. Go out and learn. What did Lavan Harami want to do? So the Rebbe asked the question. He says, why does it say Seyu Lamad? Go out and study, go out and learn. Should just say Lamad, learn what happened. Like what's the whole meaning for adding the word say to go out? Seemingly it's out of place. So the Rebbe says that the teaching is, the lesson is that before we're ready to study, before we're ready to really learn something, we first have to go out of ourselves, have to go out of our limitations, our confines. Yitzias Mitzrayim, go out of our Mitzrayim and Gvulim, then we can actually learn. So the prerequisite to really learning is to go out of, get Aris from Zich. Say Ulamad. And then there's this is my favorite. I have different favorites, but this is one of my favorites. The by Visha Amda, it says, Mechasnes hapas. You cover the chal. In this case, it's the matzah. You cover the matzah, and you magbia the kos. You lift up the cup, and you say, "What's v'yishamda?" The whole prayer is about how Hashem stood by us throughout the generations. Not just one person, but thousands throughout the generations. They all wanted to destroy us, and Hashem matzilein miyadam. Hashem saved us from their hands. So the word kois is gematria, is numerical value of what? 86. Chof vav samach is 86. The same numerical value as the word hateva, nature. Okay, because kois actually is something that's it's a vessel. Nature is a vessel; it brings things down to the world. And elikim is also gematria hateva. So the reason that we lift up the kois by Visha Amda is because the entire existence of the Jewish people throughout the generations and the persecution, all the trials and tribulations, is supernatural. So to express that, we lift up the kois, to express the fact that it's higher than nature. That's a word from the Frierdiker Rebbe. We start with the Rebbe's word. Now I'm going to share with you a word that my wife's grandfather used to chazer over me to say that. I didn't know him, but I heard it from my shver, my father-in-law, and I tell it over. I like to pass on I'm into tradition. I try to bring over the tradition. His name was Rabbi Beryl Levy. His yard site is coming up on Hey Nisan. That would be, I believe, a week from this Thursday, a week from today. So Beryl Levy was nifter in 1987, Hey Nisan, which means it's going to be his 35th yard site coming up. Anyway, so he says a word, lifting up the kois of wine. He says there's a hirus, being careful only to drink kosher wine. Right? And not, it says in halacha that if we drink non-kosher wine, it's going to bring to intermingling between the Jew and the non-Jew, and it's going to bring to intermarriage, chas v'shalom, and it will destroy the Jewish people. So the zahirus lifting up the kois, the hisham dalavisim, that's what kept us alive throughout the generations, is being careful to only drink kosher wine. In this Passover guide, it's a Sephardic Passover guide. I help write. The rabbi, one of the rabbis, brings down this vart, which is very interesting. I noticed it. And a third vart I want to share with you, I heard from my rabbi. It's a Chassidish vart. Chassidim would say, "V'hi sham dalav lifting up the kois." That's what kept us alive throughout the generation. Meaning to fabreng malkul levana, lifting up the kois to one another, saying l'chayim to one another, being mechazik each other. Ishes chaveri azoyru lochav yom chazak. That's what kept us alive throughout the generation. The warmth, the care, the vitality. The energy, that's what keeps us alive throughout the generation. Yeah.
I thought Shabbos is what was keeping us alive, but I guess if it's just taking a l'chaim, then like that serves a purpose.
Fabring, not stam l'chaim, but it's fabring.
Okay.
So right now we're elongating our lives.
Yes.
Wow. What is that?
Let's see if I can remember some other verses. Maybe then I'll have to go back into our studies. Okay, and we don't finish off the Haggadah with, what don't we finish off? Chasas the Pesach, right? The Lubavitch doesn't say that? Because Lubavitch Chassidus teaches us that the lessons of Pesach and all the inspiration live with us throughout the entire year. Because a Jewish holiday, a Yom Tov, is a time when there's a certain amount of spiritual energy and vitality that's infused in the world. And the purpose is for us to experience it and then to inculcate it into our lives and to live with it throughout the whole year. That's why it doesn't say Chasas. Pesach doesn't end. We're mamshich throughout the whole year. See the Shivart. Okay, what else? There's a lot to talk about, but maybe we'll stop here. I have to study some more.
What's
Not
the
so-
initial of the idea of non-kosher wine? That represents an interaction between Yid and Goyim.
Because non-kosher wine, it says in Halacha, is metama the lev and the moyach. It defiles our soul and our heart and our minds.
Mhm.
So it has a very strong effect, and it brings the intermarriage specifically. So that's being careful with that. Is a story with the Rebbe. Also, I think I told it to you. There was a time when a bunch of American rabbis got together and they were trying to figure out a plan to stem the tide of assimilation in college campuses, particularly. So they decided that they were going to have programs and this and that. And they had all kinds of good ideas, but they came to the Rebbe. The Rebbe said, make a kosher cafeteria. That's all the Rebbe said. No events, no lectures. Eat. The boys and the girls should eat together. Jewish boys and girls. Because the Chazal teach us in the Gemara that food has a power to draw people together and has a very strong bond, and people have to eat 3 times a day. So if you create that kind of dynamic in a proper setting, then you're going to protect the sanctity of the Jewish people. That's kind of related to what we're speaking about over here. All right. We know the mice with Alter Rebbe. Alter Rebbe did B'dikas Chometz in one room, did it the whole night. The Alter Rebbe teaches us about Tanya, Bittul. Chometz is Gaiva and Yeshus. We have to burn our own midas that need. We're all under construction. So Chassidus teaches us that we have a time to chaparayim. And working hard, Erev Pesach is also mechaper and avenus. It's a way to purify ourselves. A lot of special opportunities coming our way. Okay, that's what I have to say so far. We'll see if something else comes to my mind. I don't know. Now we're going to turn to page Kuf Tes Zayin. Actually, Kuf Tes, did I get that right? Yeah, I guess so. Kuf Tes Zayin, we're learning the halachas about kashrus. So we'll start from Gimel. I don't know where we left off last week. It could be we went a little further than Gimel, but just to refresh our memory, we're learning about the halachas of Kibele Kach Polte, which means the way in which something gets absorbed, that's how you purge it. Let me give you an example. This principle, by the way, the like-to-like principle, that the way something gets absorbed, that's how you purge it, is applicable in areas way beyond halacha, way beyond kashrus also. It's a lifelong lesson. So, with regards to the laws of kashrus, something gets absorbed through hot water, you have to purge it with hot water, get absorbed through fire, you purge it with fire, etc. And the same is with tshuva, that if we invested our energies in areas that are in the wrong direction, we just have to take those energies and invest them in the right direction. That's a way to redeem that energy. So it speaks about, so Allah speaks about this in other areas in tshuva. And I'm going to apply it to another area, an area of chinuch. I don't know. I'm thinking right now if my analogy is 100% sound, but I'll be a little risque. I'll take the risk. Last night I took my youngest child shopping. Took him to the grocery store. He's 9 years old, and he wanted to buy a certain kind of pretzel. We had it in the house, and the kids finished it. So I said, "Okay, we'll buy another bag." But I wanted to teach him to be a little bit more outgoing and to, be more comfortable. He's going to go shopping himself. To give our phone number to the cashier so that they can charge us. We have an account there. And today's day and age, everyone just dials numbers. They don't even remember our number. He didn't remember our number, but he knows our number, but he didn't remember it exactly. Anyway, but if someone is shy, right? So we have to take the shyness and put them in a position to redeem the shyness. I'm using the principle, I don't know if it's exactly the same, but the idea is it has to be done obviously slowly and properly, but the idea is we redeem that, we find a moment to actually to build and to do that. There's also, the Rebbe said, there's a famous story with the Rebbe. What can I do? I like to tell stories. They come to my mind. I can't help myself. There's a famous story with the Rebbe. In the 1950s, girls, I just want to impress upon you. I wasn't born in the 1950s, don't worry. But in the early years, when the Rebbe became Rebbe, Judaism, Yiddishkeit was very, very just recovering from the terrible tragedy of the Holocaust. There were small pockets of Chassidus, and the Rebbe encouraged each one to build their own. It's not what it is today. Today, you go to Jewish communities, thank God, the fastest Jewish fast towns in America, growing towns in America are Jewish communities, thank God. It's a beautiful thing. I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, I just remembered. So the Rebbe was sending shluchim out all over the world. The Rebbe was sending people to Morocco, to Spain, to New York, to outside New York, to California, all over the world. So someone said to the Rebbe, like, how do you take responsibility that your Chassidim are going to go out to this place with no Yiddishkeit, and they're not going to lose the faith, they're not going to assimilate, they're not going to drop it. So the Rebbe used the principle of kashering to answer the question. He said, "Aidi de Torah lifleit lebola." At the time when they're busy spitting out, when they're busy giving hashpah, spreading Yiddishkeit, they're not going to be absorbed by the surroundings around them. They're not going to be affected by the surroundings. And this is really a lesson for all of us. To be a chassid means to be a lamplighter. So when we're giving to the world around us, we're not affected by the world around us because we're affecting the world. We're spreading light. It's a lifelong lesson.
A lifelong lesson.
A lifelong lesson also, yes. Well said, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, let's look at this inside. Let's look at this inside. By the way, before I'll tell you one more story, I'm sorry, it comes to me again. What can I do? We're learning about kashering. So I used to kasher this Pesach bakery. It's no longer in existence. This guy had a bakery right near the water, in the fire, like near Bayside, New York. Well, not Bayside, excuse me, near Five Towns in that area, right near the water. And unfortunately, when I think it was Hurricane, what was the big hurricane we had 15 years ago? Or Katrina? Hurricane Sandy. When it came, not Katrina, Hurricane Sandy came, this guy's factory, Nebuch, got 6 feet of water, flooded it, his forklifts, it was destroyed. It's very sad. So his business shut down. But anyway, for the 15 years prior to that, he used to kasher his bakery. We had separate sheet pans for Pesach because he cannot kasher those for Pesach. But everything else was metal, it was kasherable, we kashered it. And I used to come in with a big propane tank and a big torch that can shoot a flame like 3 feet long. It's a menacing tool. I mean, you gotta know what you're doing. So I lower the gauge when I was inside, but it's a huge factory, massive warehouse. So it took usually it took at least 12 hours to kasher the factory. And it was very exhausting work, very exhausting work. But I remember doing it. It was very rewarding also. That was anyway. Okay, so we did hechshel libon there. We used the torch. That's where the fire burns the taste of the Isser that's on the walls of the vessel. The Libon doesn't actually remove the taste, but it burns it in its place. Hagala is where you take out the taste into the water, and Hechshar Adacha, rinsing, through rinsing, through cleaning the vessel and rinsing it. Cleans it from all dirt and fat that's attached there. Because you didn't use the vessel, it was hot, it was a cold usage vessel, so you have to clean it well. Okay. So in general, there are three different ways to kosherize, and depending on how they're used. If it's used with fire, kosherize with fire. Used with boiling water, kosherize with boiling water. If it's used cold, then we clean it. That's if it didn't pickle, it didn't sit there for 24 hours. If it's not for 24 hours, then you have to use the 24-hour sitting method where times 3. So you have cold water sitting in the vessel for 24 hours, dump that water out, do it again and again. Total of 72 hours using 3 new sets of water throughout the process. Okay. Now what about a kli cheres? Yeah.
What about like lemon or onion, but it was used cold? Do you use lemon and onion to kosher it?
No.
You just use-
No, lemon, it depends. Lemon and onion in a water or what?
No, let's say you have a knife, right? And you only use it cold and you only use it for lemon or onion.
So if you only use the knife cold, then the knife did not absorb. Let me just explain how this works. The laws about a sharp food, let's say an onion or a lemon, are that you have to have 2 things happening simultaneously to create an absorption. Number 1, the food has to be sharp that you're cutting into. In this case, you have it. You have the onion or the lemon, but you also have to have where the knife that you're cutting with was absorbed from something at one point or another. So if it was used to cut a hot steak, so now it's a meat knife. If I take that meat knife, and even though it's clean, and I cut an onion, the taste of that meat is going to go into the onion. But if the knife was never used for anything hot, the knife is parve. So it's cutting an onion or a lemon with a parve knife. No issue.
No, so then basically you're saying that the knife isn't absorbing.
It's absorbing, but it's parve. It's the knife. We're not worried about what the knife is absorbing, but what about what the knife is giving? The knife is giving parve taste to the lemon and the onion. It's fine. It's an expression in Yiddish. A kosher top and a kosher leffel, a kosher pot and a kosher spoon. Let them get married. It's fine. There's no problem. There's no issue. If it's fleshig, then you have an issue. It's already a status. If it's a neutral status, no problem. Okay, din kliche.
It's more that the lemon and onion are absorbing it.
Yes. It's going because the lemon and the onion themselves are parve. We're not worried about them giving to the knife. If the knife is parve also, so it's fine. It's no problem. So what about an earthenware vessel? Din kli cheres. Afshem first b'teres sheklimatechas yishlei hechsher bechem nidafnei misugi hechsher shenizkaru. Even though we said in the Torah that a metal vessel can be kosher with one of the ways that we mentioned. Yesh amnam sug kli sheyef shelach shira. There's a type of vessel we can't kosher. It's an earthenware vessel. An earthenware vessel that you kosher, you cook with, you should destroy. A klicheres that you cook, sar kodesh, that means meat that was sanctified for a carbon for Beis Hamikdash and has tam kodesh. So if the time of eating the kodshim has passed, so then it has to be destroyed because you cannot kosherize such a vessel. Certainly, if the Torah had an opportunity and the ability to kosherize klicheres, the Torah would not require us to break it. The Torah says about a klicheres that it doesn't leave its walls. The absorption does not purge ever. What about a vessel made from wood? For example, let's say I have a salad bowl, it's made out of wood. Or a bowl that's made out of stone. Din kli eitz, kli even, and sharkim, kleines bush, din batayr, the Torah doesn't explicitly speak about them in the Torah, so we have to infer. So the paskim, the halachic authorities, they infer, kli eitz, even yesh lam hechshav din klimatechas. They say they could be kosherized, and their din is similar to that of metal. Gam kli aluminum, even aluminum, din shavla din shakli matechas linin hechsher is also similar to metal in that sense, and therefore it has to be kosherized like metal. Aluminum did not exist at the times of Chazal. It's a new entity, new material. Now with wood, there's an additional challenging component about it, and that is that wood can have grooves, you can have like crevices, you can have indents, because it's a little bit soft. So when you kosherize a wooden table, for example, if there are crevices, you really have to sand it down first to get to a smooth surface, and then you can kosherize. Just keep that in mind. If unless the table was always used covered, it's no issue, but just to keep that in mind. In a factory setting, if you have a butcher block table and you want to kosherize it, you do have to sand it first because you're going to have, they take the strong knives and they'll cut on it. It's going to be some grooves in there, and it's not really possible to clean it properly without sanding it first.
What if you have like an IKEA wooden table that is like smooth?
If it's smooth, it's not a problem. Just make sure it's smooth.
No, we have wood.
Okay, next halacha zayin. We're on page Kuf Yud Zayin now. What about plastic and rubber? These are new materials. Plastic and rubber, new materials. B'yameinu im yetziras chamarim chadoshim shelo b'mekeden, with the fact that they can manufacture and discover new materials that they didn't have in the times of Chazal. Gumi, plastic like rubber and plastic. Therefore, we don't have a Kabbalah, we don't have a tradition from the Paskim, the early Paskim about it. Some say you shouldn't caution them because we don't have a direct tradition going back hundreds of years. We don't know. Who says you could? That's one position. But many Paskim say you could kosherize them like you kosherize metal. And most people are lenient about it. Even though if someone could be stringent, they should be praised. This isn't always a general principle. If we're concerned that through the kosherizing process, the vessel is going to get destroyed, it's not going to survive the trip. Oh, it's another story. Then we're worried you're not going to do a good job. We're afraid maybe the vessel's gonna get ruined and you're not gonna do a good job. Some say you're not allowed to kosherize. So what some people do as a compromise is we say, okay, we don't kosherize rubber and plastic for Pesach, which is taka, a proper thing to do if we can be machmer, especially as Chassidim. But from other Isurim, like if it's during the year, we are mekel. The fikach, we turn the page to Kuf Yud Ches, ein lachshim lepesach. Because we can buy new ones. We can afford a new one, buy a new one. But other Isurim, let's say it's klichol that's used for basar, you can kasha them with if this is a hafsamuat, if there's a small case of loss. I want to share with you an insight. And I'm not going to chas v'shalom tell anybody what to do, but I want to share with you a perspective. There are some vessels that are very difficult to kosherize for Pesach, and some of them really, and a koshering for Pesach is not ideal. Now, if a person has no choice, they have no choice. Sometimes you have no choice, and then halachically it's still allowed, so it's allowed to be done. You can consult and see what to do. But what we find sometimes, which is not proper, is we find some people that they'll spend copious, if God blessed them with lots of resources, they'll spend copious amounts of money, millions of hundreds of thousands of dollars, redoing their kitchen or whatever it is, and then they'll be makel on Pesach. They'll just kosherize it in a way that's not really so ideal. If you're spending so much money already, so get yourself a new oven for Pesach. It's more mahudr. If you can't do it, I understand. But if a person's in a position where they could, so someone asked me a question recently. They're redoing their house, they're going to remodel the whole house. They're spending $1 million remodeling the house. They've got a certain kind of it's a stovetop. It's very difficult to kosherize. They want to use it for Pesach. I said, listen, it's really not ideal. It depends who's asking the question. If it's a chassid who's looking for the best standard, it's not ideal. If a person just wants to know the basic halacha, they can do it. I'll tell you what to do. Anyway. And then I said to them, Mr. Chassid, I said, if you're spending $1 million redoing your house, you can buy a brand new stove for $400 or $500 for Pesach. It doesn't have to be fancy, it just has to be functional. And that's it, put it in. I'm just giving you an example of being able to place the priority, in a proper way. If a person's in a position to do so, that's where halakha gets a hiddur. It's a beautiful thing if we could do it. All right. Zechuchis, glass. Glass is a very interesting discussion. There are three opinions about glass before we actually get into it. On page 50, Halacha of Kashrus. One opinion says you cannot kosherize glass at all. One opinion says the opposite extreme, the opposite spectrum. The glass does not even absorb. It's smooth, doesn't absorb. And that's how many Sfardim hold, by the way. That doesn't absorb. That's where you'll find Sfardim have one set of dishes, glass, two sets of silverware. And then you have another opinion that says we're going to take an opinion that's going to be basically a composite of both opinions. We say that you can kosherize glass during the year, but we don't kosherize it during Pesach to be machmer. It's just three ways to look at it. Gam din please zuchuchas inspired by Torah. Yesh tovim shezuchuchas in tzrich hagola. There are those that say that zuchuchas glass does not need hagola. The dialogue about it's enough to rinse it. Ki chalok because it's smooth, the kosher and strong. V'nei belas tam Michael does not absorb. Omrim yeshom shedin zuchuchas kudim mateches. Some say that glass is like metal. Shebelas it absorbs. V'chsharos of hagola and the kashmir is with hagola. Yeshom and there are those that say shedin zuchuchas ki cheres, that glass is like cheres. It's like earthenware that you cannot kosherize it. Since it's made from sand, there's no kashering for glass, just like you cannot kosherize cheres. The last opinion that says we can't kosherize glass for Pesach. With regards to other isur, there are those that kasher it. Most Sfardim, they said you don't have to kosherize it even for Pesach.
But some Sfardim will actually use the dishes and they use year round.
Yeah, you don't have to kosherize it. Yeah, not all Sfardim, but some. And I heard from my students from several years ago, Sephardic students from France, they said that the Rabbanim in France, the Sephardic Rabbanim said that you can only be lenient and use one set of dishes if you don't have children in your home that are under Barabas mitzvah. Why? Because if you have young children, they're going to get confused. We have one set of glass dishes for meat and for dairy. And yet we have to have separate cutlery. It's like going to create a confusion. They don't understand that it's only because it's glass. So for young children, you can't do that. But for an adult who understands the halacha, it could be done. Just interesting perspective. By the way, it's easy to be a Sephardi with these things, and at Pesach, they have kidneys. So it's easy to be a Sephardi. Comes Chodesh Elul, the Sephardim get up at the crack of dawn the whole month for Selichot. So it's not, every tradition's got their thing.
Also Pesach for the kidney of it, check every grain.
Yeah, they check every grain. They got plenty of things. So, it's I tell people, I want to be a Sephardi Pesach, I want to be Ashkenazi. No, it doesn't work that way. Okay. Halacha tes al pia poskim ha'soivim shezchuchas ein tzrich hechshem shar yisurim. Yeah, I have Sephardi customers. They check every piece of rice, check everything. Yeah. They check it 3 times too. To be a chazaka, 3 times to check it. They buy glass from non-Jews. They rinse it. They use it. They use it after tefillah without kashmir. There are those that also have a custom to use glass for hot liquids. To use them also for after rinsing them and cleaning them properly. Okay. Any questions on what I said so far? We're good? Okay, girls, I have to apologize. I have to leave 5 minutes early because I have a meeting to run to, but I want to wish you all a Chag Kosher V'Sameach, a Kosher Nafreil Chem Pesach, and Mirz Hashem, we should be Zeicha to the ultimate Geula. It's Chodesh Nisan. What?
I have a question.
Okay, please. It's a question about a product?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you please explain? It's written no kitniyot gluten-free. Ashgachat badatz lo kolol Pesach.
Oh, I'll tell you why. Because the badatz doesn't give a lot of share on Pesach. Shahakol no gluten-free. But is there another hechsher on it?
It is.
No,
Can you see?
where's the second hechsher? There must be another hechsher here. But that's Bechlal, as a policy, does not give a lot of things for Pesach.
Oh, here, yeah.
So the other hechsher is certifying it for
You can
Pesach.
just make it bigger, you see, it's.
Yeah, so the OU is saying it's kosher Pesach. It's not kidneys, but that's saying I'm not taking responsibility. But that's not saying it's not kosher Pesach. We're saying I'm not taking responsibility for Passover.
Okay,
Our
but,
certification is for year-round only. So if you're comfortable with the OUP for Pesach, it's good.
I mean, does Chabad eat it like at all? Does it? Okay, I mean, I know everyone like.
Everyone
eats
has
on
to
level.
try to stay away from processed foods, but some people do have them. It's up to the person, person to do whatever they're accustomed to.
Yeah, I have a quick question. Electric ovens. Stoves.
Electric, the burner themselves, you just turn on for 20 minutes, not the burner.
Yeah,
The area between the burners where you can't really concentrate.
yeah, so you cover everything.
Cover, but just make sure not to cover it in
You
the
know,
neck.
like the ones that are glass?
That's a tricky thing, it's very tricky.
You turn all of them on?
You know,
So the
you
glass
can reach
goes
me, you can reach me later. Better to avoid Joshua, but if you have no choice, you can reach me after class. Give me my number, okay? You want my number?
No, I'm just like wondering if you're like,
Okay, okay.
cause my dad handled it last year.
Yeah,
Last year we were living, we had it last, he handled it, but I didn't actually learn what he did, so I wanna actually know what.
it's a trick, it's possible to, but it's a little tricky, so if you wanna reach out to me after. Okay? Thank you.
ви знаєш, де чому ми говорили? Говорили, когда носится миллион по посылок, типа, это комната, которая должна вот помыться за 2 часа до Песаха. Ну, типа, я понял, я хочу сам сказать.
It's always whispering.
How do you told that story?
Oh. A lot of the stories are so
Which classroom is the next? What language? Ah, perfecto. Es un
Yeah. Ramana? Yeah.
I need an invitation.
Oh, you went to Ramana?
Yeah,
When?
I graduated 2016.
Where? Amazing.
Oh, right.
She's a baby.
So you were in Amana like last year?
No, I was there for a year for 10th grade. That was.
So that was like 2-3 years ago.
No, 4 years. 3. No, wait. Last year was.
You were up at Barrington?
Yeah.
Like you left after the first year?
I left after 10th grade because, did you have that weird, were you part of Nala? Did you have the weird English teacher who was from Germany? Okay, so she was so messed up. Well, whatever.
We had an American English teacher. I mean, she was
Oh my
very,
gosh.
she was like very like Israeli, but she came from America.
Wow, lucky. So
Yeah.
I guess I came after that and then they switched to English teacher and she was literally messed up.
No, we didn't have
She
that.
like,
But what's
kid
it?
issues.
We also, my class started off with like, I think it was like 24 girls. By the end of it, we were like 8, like a ton of people left after the
Oh
first
my
year.
gosh.
Is it still like that? Or like,
Yeah, I think like the first year the first few months that I was there, already like 2 girls got kicked out because they like went to tell me they got drunk.
you got kicked out? Oh, our girls didn't get kicked out. People just
Oh.
didn't like the way the school was run.
Oh, okay.
They left after the first.
The actual school is fine, but like the non-ed